from St. Louis, Missouri, the smiling Irishman, Patterson. From Boston, Massachusetts, the former world's candlepin champion, Joe Cawlina. Two more of the world's greatest bowlers on championship bowling in a three-game match from the Firestone Bowl-a-rama lanes in Akron, Ohio. Hello, everybody. From Akron, Ohio, it's championship bowling. This is Fred Wolf. Two more of our field of 24 of the world's greatest bowlers in weekly competition. A purse of over $70,000. The winner this week, as usual, receives $1,000. The loser, $500. 300 game, $10,000. All competition is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. 5 strikes in a row in any one game. We start with a $250 bonus. $50 for every strike on top of the first 5. Now, both these boys make 2 appearances, meeting a different opponent. Total pins for the 2 appearances, or 6 games, will qualify our 2 finalists for the $15,000 added purse in the finals over the last 2 weeks here in Akron, Ohio, on championship bowling. Working with us this week, Dave Soutar, the youngster from Detroit. Dave, welcome.
Hi, Fred. It's a pleasure to be here.
And just a word or two about these 2 fellas. I know you're well acquainted with Pat Patterson.
Yes, I am.
And I don't think you're too well acquainted with the former world's candlepin champion, Joe Cawlina.
Well, I've seen Joe bowl in the All-Star, and he bowled real well.
That's right. He was a finalist in the 1964 All-Star, and he's taken to the big pins here in pretty good shape.
He sure has.
You don't want to pick a winner here this week, do you?
Well, it'd be hard to say. More or less, it would be the veteran against the youngster.
Veteran against the youngster. All right, Dave, you get up there, and we'll be ready to go in the first game in a moment. Let's meet the boys from Boston, Massachusetts, Joe Cawlina. Joe? How are you? Okay. Well, Joe, we don't have any candlesticks here on championship bowling. We got those big, fat, heavier pins.
Well, I came here to bowl 10 pins.
You
That's
did?
what I'm doing here, absolutely.
That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You got the big ball, too. That makes
I got
it easier.
One. Oh, yeah.
No, not him. Oh, you brought the ball with you?
No.
Let's bring him out here. Pat Patterson from St. Louis. Pat, how are you?
Fine, Fred. Fine, thank you.
I'm going to start this off because I'm going to mention it up there. I understand you are coming in with the Hardwick grip using the first 2 fingers. That's
well,
true?
actually, Hardwick's using my grip now. Since I took over, I feel like it's mine, yes.
Is that right? And you have a brand new Amflight Gray Ghost ball there.
Yes, I'm trying that out, and so far it's been working fairly well.
In practice?
In practice,
Everything
yes.
works in practice, Pat. And you've been practicing well, too, Joe.
Yes, I think I've been throwing the ball pretty well in practice.
Then the folks here in Akron, Ohio ought to be ready for the first game. Shake hands, boys, and come out a fighting. Ready? Here we go. Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts, won the toss. Elected to start on the right side. He wants to finish on the left in the first and third games. All games starting on the left. That puts Pat Patterson from St. Louis in the first frame of 3 championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. Gets in there, gets a piece of the 5-pin, but does not carry. Patrick Patterson, the big smiling Irishman from St. Louis, Missouri. Sitting with us this week, Dave Soutar from Detroit. Dave, this ought to be an interesting match.
Yes, Fred, it should be. They both were throwing a lot of strikes in practice.
Well, we've seen that many times, but
Yes.
When they turn the lights on, things change. $1,000 to the winner. Both these boys will meet another opponent in our field of 24 of these great stars. For the 2 appearances, the top 2 men will become our finalists. Joe Cawlina is out. Oh, man, he still hit the head pin. Didn't look like he'd ever get there. And he has a wide open split on a very light pocket hit, an unusual leave, really, the 2-4-10. Don't see this one too often. He's got a chance at it. Just a little too much of the 2-pin. The 2-4-10, and Cawlina is open in the first frame. Joe was born in Lynn, Massachusetts in 1931. 1959 and 1960 was the world single candle pin champion. Took to the big pins in 1960. Frank Klaus was greatly responsible for this fella's start. A little high, and he has the 4-6-7. So Joe, who was throwing so many strikes in practice, now finds that the minute the cameras start to roll, he probably afraid to take a little chance, Dave, and he pushed that one up after being a little short on the first one.
Yes, I think he was thinking of the other one.
So one mistake sometimes makes two if you're going to over-adjust. He'll probably shoot for 2, take 9. So Cawlina has a long way to go here, starting 9-9. 2 splits, the 2-4-10 and the 4-6-7. That puts Pat Patterson from St. Louis in the position to have at least a 20-pin lead if he can fill here in the second frame. Pat using the first 2 fingers. Here it comes. He's there, and he carries. Here's a fella that's been in the game since way back in 1938 and still experimenting to the point where he is now using the 3-finger ball, and he's had this ball drilled, by the way, Dave, for his first 2 fingers, with the span for the second finger much wider than the span for the first finger. And he still tucks his little finger in on top of the ball. There he is, in that pocket again, and he may get it. He's got it. Boy, what a break. Well, that AMF pin spotter waited just long enough, Dave, to get a double. Oh, that's a great strike to get, and that ought to build up Pat's desire to come right back with a couple of more. Joe Cawlina now, really on the spot, started with 2 open frames. There's a long way to go. He dropped that one in the pocket. Not enough, the 2-4-5. Joe is a finalist in the 1964 National All-Star Tournament, where he certainly made a lot of people sit up and take notice. Of course, he won the New England Match Game Championship in '62 and again in 1963. This is in big pins. He's got it. Joe says that he just gave up the candle pin game because there's just so much more activity here. He felt it was an exciting challenge, something new. He had a certain amount of natural skill, natural ability with the little ball and the candle pin, which is a much narrower pin and taller. Now he doesn't get there again, and he has another tough shot. First frame on the right, he just touched the head pin, broke up a washout, but ended up with a very tough spare, the 2-4-10, came back with a 2-4-5. So in 4 frames, Joe's looked at some real difficult setups. He covers this one beautifully, just like the AMF spare maker indicates. You look for the magic triangle. Look for the AMF spare maker. It helps you convert that important spare so much more easily. Gotta hurry, Pat. He gets there this time and breaks up the 5-7 again, leaves the 5-pin. That's about the same hit he had in the first frame. Well, Dave, what do you think of this first 2-finger thing here?
Well, it's working very good for Bill Hardwick, and I know Pat Patterson has been trying this for the last few months, and he has been bowling pretty well. Seems to give him a little more roll.
A little more roll. Pat says he can't pull it as easily using those 2 fingers. This may revolutionize the whole bowling ball picture. You got to have a ball drilled a new way.
Yes, it may.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful ball. Patterson has had all 5 in the pocket. He's had 2 5-pins and 3 strikes. He's working on a double kick. He says he's going to stay away from the nose and using, of course, this first 2 fingers. And there goes Mr. Cawlina. And we can expect this boy to start moving now. So at the end of 5 in the first game, Pat Patterson off to a great league, 89 with a strike. Cawlina is 55 with a strike. Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts. He resides in Lynn, Massachusetts, trying for his first double. He's there at the 9-pin. And look at Joe down on his knees. How could that happen, Dave? That ball moved quickly.
That ball really drove into the pocket, Fred.
Now, when you leave a 9-pin, it's obvious, isn't it, that ball, after hitting the pocket, kept moving and actually picked the 5 off the 9. Nothing hit the 9.
Right. It's a very unusual leave. You don't see it too often.
The 9-pin cover. Oh, that's a bad break for the youngster from Boston, Massachusetts, making his first appearance on championship bowling. He had his first strike. And, of course, the next thing is to get your double quickly. Patterson did it. The first strike he got in the second, he made it into a double. Lost a 5-pin in the fourth. He's on a strike in the fifth. He's short. And he doesn't get up there to get enough of that pocket. And he leaves the 2, 4, 5, 8, the bucket. The cluster of 4 that'll keep any bowler busy. But the sparemaker tells you how to do it. Of course, you have to throw the ball. The ball between the 2 and the 5, and the ball following through, hitting the 8. And that's the way to do it. Pat Patterson. He was runner-up to Andy Marcich in the St. Paul Open in 1962. He was runner-up to Bill Johnson in the Dallas Open in 1963. Runner-up to the left-hander Roy Lowen in the Paramus, New Jersey Open in 1961. Oh, does he like that left side? Patterson hitting the left side beautifully. He missed it in the first frame, but he has strikes there now in the 3rd, 5th, and the 7th as Joe Cawlina moves in on the right. That's going to be on the other side. There it is. Joe Cawlina now could very well be working on 3 strikes in a row. He left a 9-pin here on a strike. Of course, we'll give him the Brooklyn in the 7th, or the Jersey. We're in the 8th. Let's see if he can get his double. Way outside. And he's in there getting carried. So Cawlina now beginning to shake off the televisionitis here, beginning to relax a bit. He has his first double. Patterson will try it again on the right side. That ought to be up there. There it is. That wasn't short with that one. Pat now on the double, moves left. Still room for bonus money. He needs this one, and the first 2 in the 10th. This is his best side, and he's right back in there. Oh, he's throwing that ball beautifully, Dave.
Sure is. I think he's finally found it on 26 also. He held a much tighter line that time.
We've watched Pat bowl many years, and he always was considered a swinger, but with this new idea here of the first 2 fingers, he keeps that ball rolling, and it sort of just goes up there and stays on one line and sets. Here's Cawlina, gets there thin, doesn't kick the 7-pin out, and the youngster from Massachusetts certainly not getting a break. He left a solid 9 on a strike, which took a double away from him. Did, however, come back with the Brooklyn strike, made it into a double, and now loses the 7-pin. He was probably thinking of that Brooklyn. He gave that one a little extra room. 9th frame, first game, $1,000 to the winner. The world's greatest bowlers in match game competition from Akron, Ohio. We have Joe Cawlina, the former world's candlepin champion, moving left. Interesting, too, Joe's highest game in candlepins is 195. There, he kicks the 10-pin out for the first one in the 10th. His highest game in 10 pins is 290, and he says that they're just about equivalent. The highest game ever recorded in candlepins through 1964, we get this information from Joe, incidentally, is 217. Still, he'll tell you that a perfect score in candlepins is 300, just as it is in 10 pins, except you get 3 balls every frame. He's too high and he's wide open. Double pinochle, 4, 6, 7, 10. And this one, of course, is just a situation of getting 2, either 2. And Joe hasn't had too much luck here in the first game. Going cross lane. Gets the 2. Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts. 1-8-2 as big Pat Patterson moves in on the right side with a chance for 249. A great start. He's had a little trouble on this side. He's been keeping the ball away from the nose. This time he pushes it. He's on the nose, lucky enough to break it up, leaves nothing but the 6-pin, and he really pulled that one, didn't he?
Yes, he went up sort of fast, too, that time, which consequently caused him to pull the ball.
First time that Pat has been high. The cover, the count, 228. There it is. Pat Patterson, St. Louis, Missouri. Pat has started the games with 10 in a row, twice on championship bowling. For 24 games, he's averaging 215. He's had 2 great 700 totals, 730 and 747. He's had single games of 287 and 289. So at the end of the first game for Patterson, 228 for Cawlina, 182. This is Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show. Fred Wolf, along with Dave Soutar, from the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio, the rubber capital of the world. Here are the scores for the first game. Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts, 182. I think we better get some candle pins out for you, Joe. We'll go better this second game. For Pat Patterson of St. Louis, 228. You ready, Akron, for the second game? Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts will start the second game of 3, championship bowling here from Akron, Ohio. Fred Wolf, along with Dave Soutar, the world's former candlepin champion, in there and carries. We're still expecting a lot from this fella. He has that extreme outside angle, playing practically, I'd say, almost a board around the first diamond, isn't he, Dave?
Very close to it, Fred.
Here's Pat Patterson. He's got a good lead, 46 pins. This is his tough side. He's doing very well on the other side. A little more turn, and he got there with that one. Now, Pat has had 1 ball a little high. That was in the 10th, right here on the right side. Now he moves to the left. He left a 5-pin here in the first frame, and he hasn't missed carrying a strike since. He struck in the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th. Now for the double in the second game. It's there. Solid 7. What are you going to do with that?
All you can do is wait for your ball and shoot it again.
You know, wait for the ball to come back. Boy, that really was in there. Pat Patterson losing a fast double here. Pat was captain of the 1962 American Bowling Congress Classic Team Champions, an event that they won in Des Moines, Iowa. Also won the 1954 National Bowlers Journal Classic, the event that Mort Louie conducts with the ABC tournament each year up in Seattle. Joe Cawlina now moving in on the right. He's had 1 double. Might just about be ready to settle down. Throws too high. 4-pin. Oh, he can't get a kick. This fella's left a solid 9, a 10, and now a 4. 182, the first game. Started this game number 2 with a strike, unable to get the double. There it is. You, Dave, feel there's any resemblance, not so much possibly in the approach, but the second that Joe releases his ball, there's some similarity here between Cawlina's delivery and Don Carter's delivery?
Yes, he pushes the ball. Seems like he pushes the ball out.
Boy, he really was outside that time. He split the first diamond and the channel. He's moved out to the extreme on the left side. Pat Patterson now moves in. Pat could be on 2. Left a solid 7 on a strike. Here it comes. Gary. Well, that took a minute. Finally kicked the 4-pin out of there, which Cawlina was unable to do. So Patterson starts it over, now moves to the left, and he has quite a string going over here. 6 strikes in a row on the left side. 7. This time the 4-pin, almost the 4-9. Pat's throwing a very strong ball this week, Dave, isn't he?
Yes, sure is, Fred.
He's been in that pocket most of the way. He's only had 1 ball actually out of the pocket. He left a 6-pin on a nose hit in the 10th frame. He's had 2 5-pins. There's the cover. He was just a little short of the pocket. He left the 2-4-5-8, the bucket, in the 6th, but he was just so close to a mixer. We'll give him a pocket hit on that. And let's see if Cawlina now can get a string started. He is on a strike. Gives it a little extra room this time, and he's in, and there's a solid 10. How do you get a double in this league, Dave? Pretty tough, isn't it?
It sure is. Leave a lot of 10s and 4s.
Now, these are AMF registered tournament grade pins. They're hand selected, they're matched weights, they're all within 1 ounce of each other in any one set. They're all registered. We say that we don't make it too easy for the boys. The lanes are reconditioned for each match each week. Got it? This is a real tournament condition, which is just not as easy as some of us might enjoy in our little weekly endeavor in our own league. Don't you think so, Dave?
Yes, Fred.
Well, there you are. This fella has hit that pocket beautifully. He's had 3 in a row on the left side, which Joe favors. He won the toss. He elected to finish on the left. Patterson is having the same success on the left. Patterson now on the right. Oh, he just turns away from that one and breaks up the washout, and he has the 1-2-8. 1-2-8 for Patterson. First time that he's missed a headpin. And actually, here on the right side is the only ball that Pat had out of the pocket previous to this when he hit the nose. So Pat's working a little extra hard here on the right side. 1-2-8, be careful. He's got it. So at the end of 5, we're halfway in this match on Championship Bowling from Akron, Ohio. Pat Patterson is 77 spare. Cawlina is 80, working on a strike. Patterson now back on the left side. He has 6 in a row over here. Come on, right back. Well, we better correct that. He had 6 in a row, and he broke that up in the 1, 2, 3. In the 4th frame, he left the solid 4-pin. So he starts his string over. Let's see if Cawlina can get a double. He's had a solid 4, a solid 10, this time thin. He doesn't get there, breaks up his washout, leaves the 1-2, both boys through just about the same ball here on the right side. How do you figure the right side, lane 26, Dave? Looks like both boys are having their problems on this side.
Yes, it seems to be the harder of the two. I would say you'd have to be very sharp on 26 to keep constantly hitting the pocket and carrying.
1-2, covered by Joe Cawlina, the former world's candlepin champion. By the way, his wife, Barbara, is a southpaw, the mother of 5 children, and she has time to bowl once a week and averages 178. And that's not bad. Goal. Doesn't quite get there. And he has himself the 6-9-10. Joe Cawlina. He's been on television many times, shooting at candle pens. This is his first appearance on Championship Bowling. Was a finalist in the National All-Star 1964 in Dallas, Texas. He's got it. Cawlina covers the spare in the 7th, so it's 117 spare as Patterson moves in the 7th, and Pat is working on a strike. For the double. Patterson in there. Beautifully. Boy, he didn't make a mistake with that one, Dave.
In fact, I think he even moved a board to the right.
Moved a little farther outside.
Yes.
Patterson, following in the footsteps of the youngster, Billy Hardwick, using the first 2 fingers. And he has a brand new AM/FM flight ball. Reaches out, sets it, and leaves the 4-9 on a solid pocket hit. Just a bit tight. Should have got out of that with no more than a 4-pin and the 4-9. Patterson pounding that pocket in great shape this week, but unable to get loose. He had 228 the first game, a double and a triple. This game started with a strike, a 7-pin, a strike, a 4-pin, then a double, now the 4-9, and he converted it. Beautiful shot. Pat Patterson. Oh, that was a great shot, and Joe Cawlina now moves in on the right side, the former world's candlepin champion from Boston, Massachusetts. Now the New England match game champion with the big pins, the 10 pins. Hurry! Doesn't quite get there, the 2-4-5. Joe has rolled a sanctioned series of 731, 1963. Is a supervisor in a paper plant in Lynn, Massachusetts. Cover and the spare. Joe doesn't make too many of the events on the tour. He was a finalist in the National All-Star Match Game Championships in Dallas, Texas in 1964. Billy Williams, the former president of the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, here in Akron this week at the Balarama, watching championship bowling. Billy from Detroit. Cawlina throws, and this time the 4 without the 9. You know, winter, summer, cold or hot, you can always go bowling. Believe me, it's great fun, and it's never affected by the weather. In the hot summer, you can bowl in air-conditioned comfort. In the winter, it doesn't matter if it's 0 or 40 degrees outside. It's always bowling weather, no matter what. So why don't you get a gang together and have yourself some fun. Bowling is great fun. Patterson now moves in on the right side in the 9th frame. Pat looking very sharp this week, but unable to kick loose that big string that you need. Back in the pocket. Now a solid 7. I'm sure Pat is probably asking Dave, what goes? What goes?
Fred, he is really getting wrapped today.
We don't get tapped anymore now. We get wrapped, as the younger fellows tell me, and Dave is from the young school, of course. Great shot, Pat. I don't know, but I've seen this guy bowl for a good many years, and it seems to me he's on the right track here with this bowling with the first 2 fingers. Make it tough for you young fellas.
He always does make it tough.
You know, he's rolled 10 sanctioned perfect scores. Something to think about. Look at that. Oh, man, he threw the book at that 7-pin that time. So in reviewing this game, Patterson with another strike can get out of here with 214, and this is just about the strongest 214 game you'll ever see. He missed the head pin in the 5th frame, and that's it. Every ball has been in the pocket. And solid. One more. There's a 10. Well, he hasn't had a 10 pin this game. 204 with one ball out of the pocket. He missed the head pin in the fifth, converted the 1-2-8. He has had 5 strikes. He's had a 4-pin and a 4-9, which he converted. A solid 7 and a solid 10. Now this would sort of make you feel that with another game to go, I wonder what's the use, Dave? Or do you just keep plugging?
You'd have to still keep plugging, though, Fred. They can't stand forever.
Joe Cawlina now, way outside. Here it comes, and he shakes it up. Boy, he brought that one back from right field.
Got fingers into that ball that time.
Joe Cawlina, the New England match game champion, former world's candlepin champion. And that's the game where you use the little ball, and the candlepin is, I believe, a little taller than the 10-pin and a little narrower and not so heavy. Look at that. Wonderful action. That's the Don Carter ball, isn't it?
Sure is.
So Joe will get out of this one with a 200 game. Needs a 7-pin count. Oh, nobody cashing bonus money this week up till now through the first 2 games. Third game to follow. One more. Beautiful finish. And Cawlina carried 3 in the 10th. This is championship bowling. Fred Wolf, along with Dave Soutar, with the world's greatest bowlers in match game competition every week from the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio, home of the Professional Bowlers Association. We'll be ready for the third and final game on championship bowling here in Akron, Ohio. In just a moment, we're now in Conversation Corner. With us, an old friend of mine from Detroit, the past president of the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, Bill Williams. And Bill, I think I'll ask the standard question. What do you feel has been the big advance in bowling in the past 10 years, or what has put the game where it is today?
Well, first of all, Fred, let me say that it's a real pleasure to be here with you on championship bowling. I think that the advent of the automatic machine certainly went a long way into bringing the game to what it is today. And then we had the televising of the great matches around the country in which instructions were given and the average person could see what an easy thing it was to bowl. Then we went from that, of course, to organizing ladies' leagues and bringing the children into the game with the organization of the various associations for the youth of America. I think that it's a game that everyone can enjoy, from the smallest one in the family to the oldest one in the family.
Now, the Bowling Proprietors Association of America have done a lot in the youth program, haven't they?
That's right. We have a real big organization for the youth of America today in which every child can participate.
And those are the bowlers we'll see on championship bowling in the years to come. Thank you very much, Bill, for dropping into Conversation Corner. Championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. We're ready now for the third and final game. Pat Patterson from St. Louis starts off the third and final game. He leads by 47 pins over Joe Cawlina. From Boston, Massachusetts, Patterson still in that pocket, and he carries the 10-pin, and boy, he has that one coming. Well, that's 2 rollers that Pat has run out, and I'd say they still owe him a half a dozen, Dave.
I would say so,
with
too.
Us this week. Throwing a very strong ball. Joe Cawlina now. 47 pins between Joe and $1,000. There it is. Now, you can hear Joe's thumb pop out of his ball occasionally, Dave. It scares me a little bit to think possibly the thumb has stuck, but obviously it doesn't affect the roll of the ball at all, does it?
No, it might be a little tight, and the lights might make it a little warm, where the thumb will swell up a little bit and stick in it, just a little bit where it would pop.
The ball still rolled beautifully. That was 4 in a row, actually, for Joe. Going for 5. There it is. Well, I believe it's certainly quite obvious to you folks watching championship bowling this week that this kid can bowl. There's no doubt about it. He's a little nervous when he started. He's hit that pocket beautifully. He, too, is coming up with something different in the game, playing such an extreme outside angle for a right-hander. We've seen the left-handers do it. Patterson with that new grip. And he's in and kicks over his double. So Patterson now has got a couple of them back. He didn't expect that one. The 4-pin toppled out. In the first frame, he had a roller and knocked the 10-pin out of there. So Pat has 2. Cawlina has 2. And bonus money just around the corner as Pat moves to the left. Out. They got the 4-pin out of there again. And I guess it's a fair question, Dave. How can all of a sudden now everybody's carrying everything? Cawlina, you know, finished with 3. He's on 2. He has 5 in a row. Pat has actually carried 3 strikes that haven't been as good as many that he has lost in the first 2 games.
Right. That last one, he looked even surprised himself that he carried it.
Here's another one for Cawlina. Here it comes. Here it comes. Well, he got the shake and the rattle and the roll, but he didn't get the 7-pin out of there, and Cawlina stops at 2 here in the 3rd game. Joe was running on 5, actually. He finished the 2nd game with 3. Both these boys make 2 appearances, meeting a different opponent each time. The entire field appears twice. Come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. Well, he got just a little careful, and I thought he played that a little to the left, actually, Dave.
Yes, Fred. He just laid the ball down, and it went straight.
I think he thought it was going to hook of its own accord, and that didn't happen, his part. We go into the 4th. He's still in the pocket. Well, that makes the 7-pin tap very costly. Had Joe carried, of course, he could have 90 in the 3rd frame instead of 57, so it could have been a 33-pin break against him, and, of course, in Patterson's favor. Pat is on 3. Will it be another one? Gotta hurry. He doesn't get there, and he leaves the bucket. He kicks 2 of them out. He has the 5-8. Well, Pat tried to swing with one, and he hasn't been doing that.
Right. And I think he was thinking of when he kicked the 4-pin out here. There isn't too many that kick him out.
He didn't want to be high again.
Right.
5 and the 8. Patterson covers. And bonus money has stopped here at the present time. Cawlina had a chance. He was off with 2. Patterson started with 3. Now we'll have to start it over. Championship bowling from Akron, Ohio. Pat Patterson, one of the real great campaigners in this sport. Back in there, leaves the 4-pin a little tight. Pat's been a great performer on television. He has shot a .299 game. Did that in Cleveland some years ago. He said it was a little embarrassing, actually. Left the 5-pin on his last ball. His high 3-game series, 747. That happened on Championship Bowling in Northbrook, Illinois. There's the cover. And as we mentioned earlier, twice on Championship Bowling, Patterson has started a game with the first 10 strikes in a row. Cawlina now moving in on the right. Joe has 1 way to go, and that's the strike route. He's on 1 in the 4th. Left a 7-pin shaker here. He's got to hurry, and he's not there again. The 2-4-5-7. Joe didn't get out of that one the way he wanted to.
No, he's not getting the ball out over the line, and consequently, doesn't seem to be getting the right fingers in the ball, where it would hook into the pocket.
Now he moves slightly left of center. The AMF Sparemaker indicates the ball between the 2 and the 5. The 2 should hit the 4, and the 4 should hit the 7, but that's not the way he played it, but he got away with it. If you're too tight on the 2-5, you can leave that 7-pin up there. So Cawlina now with a spare in the 5th. He's 77 spare. Patterson is 97 spare. The margin, 67 pins. Pat Patterson out in front of Joe Cawlina. Look out. Well, he gave that one all the turn in the world. That one got up there in a hurry, so he must be conscious of what we just mentioned, Dave, that he gets a little lazy once in a while and doesn't give the ball much. And that time he, as they say, poured the juice to it.
Gave it too much.
Yeah. The cover for Cawlina in the 6th frame. Pat Patterson now still has room for the big game. He goes in with 432. It's total pins for 2 appearances that'll qualify our 2 finalists. The final 2 weeks here in Akron, Ohio on championship bowling, and Mr. Patterson now with his last chance. A strike in the 6th. Strike him out, add 150 to what he has in the 5th frame. That'd give him 267 for 699. Got to have this one. 4-pin again. Well, some days you can't save a dime, as they say. Patterson unable to get loose. Still has room for bonus money, but he'll have to go all the way. 3 in a row, that's the best we've had. Pat had 3 in a row in the first game. He had 3 in a row in the 3rd game. Cawlina finished with 3 and started with 2. So we haven't been too close to bonus money this week. And Joe Cawlina moving in on the right. Joe'd like to come out of this with 600. And he's going to need 4 in a row to do that. Here he comes. There it is. So Joe moving to the left now. You know, hospitals care for the sick. They train personnel. They provide medical research. For some information, write the American Hospital Association, 840 North Lake Shore Drive, Chicago, Illinois, 60611. Too high, and Joe has the 6-pin. Well, that's 2 in a row on the left side that he seemed to pull.
Yes, he went up, I would say, a little fast that time. He's trying to more or less jam the ball in the pocket.
Spare for Cawlina in the 8th. As Big Pat Patterson now with his last chance for bonus money. Cawlina unable to get 5 in a row. He only has 2 frames remaining. Patterson in the 8th. Going in with 432, games of 228 and 204. Kicks the 4-pin out of there. Well, he left that 4-pin in the 7th frame on a strike. He had a 4-pin in the 5th frame, and he started with 3. Another strong game for Patterson, but unable to really score. Like to have this one. Here it comes. There's a 10-pin. Now, that was not the solid 10-pin hit. That was a pretty strong ball. You couldn't call it an in-betweener either. There seemed to be a lot of fire down there, but nothing touched the 10-pin, Dave. How do you explain that?
Well, Fred, I would say he threw that one a little extra hard. Also, that might have caused the 6 to go around
Careful.
the 10.
He got it. Well, I think Pat was putting on a little act there. We're in the 9th for Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts. Born in 1931 in Lynn, Massachusetts. Now he dropped that one, got away with it, and kicked the 10-pin out. So Cawlina now goes into the 10th. Has a chance for 216. That'll give him 601. He needs 2 strikes and 9. And I'm sure every bowler, especially when he's bowling not too well, still tries for that 600 every time out, doesn't he, Dave?
Always, Fred.
599 is not enough. I like that 6-0. Look out, Joe. You're high again. Oh, he got away with it. How about that? Well, let's say he has that one coming. So give us another one, Joe, and 9 pins, and check in with 600. Joe Cawlina, first appearance on Championship Bowling.
Hit it, Joe.
There's the 4 pin, so you steal 1 and give it right back. So Joe will check in here with about 590. 205, 590 on the button with the cover of this 4 pin. Patterson still has a chance for 657. 659. He can go all the way. Well, for Joe, I'm sure that he'll put this in his little book of experience as quite an occasion. An appearance on Championship Bowling where you see the world's greatest bowlers in match game competition every week. And Mr. Patterson did not give us the triple in the 10th. He left the 7 pin. And this guy's been in that pocket pretty good here for the last hour, Dave.
He sure has. I'll say one thing. I don't think today is Pat's day.
He missed a head pin in the 5th frame of the 2nd game, and that's about, well, he had a 6 pin, too. He was high once, and that's about it. Sam Trophy, the home pro here at the Balarama in Akron, points out that that's the story. He's had 2 balls out of the pocket on a bucket. He left 1 in the 6th of the 1st frame. We'll give him a pocket hit on that, but he was high with a 6 pin in the 10th frame, and he missed the head pin in the 2nd game, the 1-2-8. This game, he's been in most of the route, and there's another 4 pin. That's a 5-8 once, and that's about it for Pat Patterson in the 3rd game, 215, for Cawlina, 205. Now we'll check the totals, have a word or two with these 2 fine bowling champions from the Firestone Lanes in Akron, Ohio, where the World Series of Golf is played annually. Here are the official scores for Joe Cawlina from Boston, Massachusetts. 182, 203, and 205. The total is 590. For Pat Patterson from St. Louis, 228, 204, and 215. The total 647. The winner, Pat Patterson. Did you enjoy this one, ladies and gentlemen? Joe, I usually say, did you enjoy it? To the loser, that isn't fair.
Well, I didn't bowl very good, but I think that Pat should have had a lot more. He was right in the hole all the time, just couldn't carry.
How much do you think he should have had?
Well, for his benefit, about 750.
750?
Well, I think he's going to need about 750.
How about you folks here? How much do you think he should have had 750? Joe, there's the runner-up share, $500. There's a very interesting statistic up there that Sam Trophy has just brought to my attention. Do you know that Pat only got 1 more strike than you did? Did you realize that?
No, how come he gets so many more pins?
Well,
You better check that score again.
Yeah, well, this is not candle pins. We keep score differently, you see.
I'll get him in my game one day.
In your game. And now, let me just ask you a question about candle pins. You get 3 balls a frame in candle pins, don't you?
That's right.
To get a spare?
2 balls to get a spare.
Oh, 2, you throw 2, but you get 3 balls?
You get 3 balls per frame.
Per frame?
Per frame.
You could have used that today a few times.
At times, yes, I think I could have used it.
So I'm just kidding you. Pat, $1,000 for you as the winner, and no bonus money this week. We couldn't get past 3, could we?
That seems like it's about my limit, Fred. 3 and I get the lump.
The lump. Now, wait a minute. I'm going to believe me, I thought you bowled beautifully today. We're not kidding. Joe is right, and we realized it up there, Dave Soutar and myself. Are you sold now on this first 2-finger thing? Are you going to stick with it?
Well, I've been bowling like this for quite a while, Fred. Yes, I like it because my ring finger is a little bit weak. And the first finger of your hand is the strongest finger on your hand, so I get a better roll on the ball and a better lift that way.
That's what we call a trigger finger.
That's right.
And you
it
figure...
didn't trigger enough
it
strikes,
didn't trigger enough strikes. Pat, you still bowl beautifully. We expect to hear a lot from you here on Championship Bowling. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 great stars in this sport, Pat Patterson, Joe Cawlina. Akron, how about it? See you again, boys. Good luck to you, Joe. Thank you. Sure hope you can join us again next week on Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show. Repeating the scores, Joe Cawlina 590, Pat Patterson the winner with 647. We're at the Firestone Bowl-a-rama in Akron, Ohio, where you see the world's greatest bowlers in match game competition every week, a $70,000 prize fund. Hope you can join us next week. Until then, Fred Wolf just saying, keep 'em bowling out there. It's great fun.
Matching shirts and slacks used on championship bowling by King Louie. Championship bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce championship bowling.